Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are listening to me. Welcome to another episode of Wealth Building Conference. I'm your regular host, Oludare Fasola. Tonight, we're going to be looking into another important topics that will help us to build wealth efficiently in a tax efficient way. But before we go into that, just the regular way of welcoming ourselves, I want you to please put in the comment section where you are joining from and your name. Please, we just want to know you. This is not just any other webinar that you used to go to. This is a webinar that is fully packed with educational information, strategies that will help you to build wealth. Again, if you know anybody, if you have any medical professionals as friends, as family member, or as colleague, please share this link with them. Let them join to learn on how they can build lasting wealth, right? One thing that I know in this part of the world is that it's not how much you make, but how much you can save. Again, if you don't know how to properly manage taxes, it's going to be very difficult for you to be wealthy. Tax is number one wealth destroyer. So there's a news trending right now where a couple, the two of them passed, and it just happened that the CRA is sending me a tax bill of about 660 something $1,000. It can be very, very, it can be very bad like that if you don't really know how to structure your finances, how to manage your wealth, right? And I want you to know that it's not just about just putting money in different strategies. Is understand where you are putting your money and what are the tax implications of where you are putting the money in. This is very, very important. Once again, on behalf of the Wealth Building Conference team, I want to thank everyone that have been joining us. Honestly speaking, I do appreciate your time, or I really, really want to appreciate you. And as we continue in this series, I'm going to be bringing experts, people that really understand how to really, help you to build wealth, because there's something, again, there's difference between asset preservation and asset protection. A lot of us are protecting assets, but we don't know how to preserve it. So we're going to be looking into that as we proceed in this, in our webinar. Again, I want to let you know that this presentation is going to be fully impactful tonight. So if you have anybody who really want to build to, please let them join. All right. If you get value, as so those of us who have been joining, please, if you really get value anytime you join this presentation, I want you to please drop on the comment section value. Like, if this webinar has really impacted your life, I want you to put on the comment section value, so that we know that at least we are adding value to your life. So on that note, I'm just quickly going to pull up my slide for us to quickly go into the presentation. Just before we go in, just a housekeeping rule, right? This presentation is for educational purpose only. It is not a financial, legal, or tax advice. Individual circumstances vary. Medical professionals should consult, and business owners should consult with a licensed financial advisor, accountant, and tax professional before implementing any strategies. Insurance products mentioned are subject to underwriting, policy conditions, and provisions regulations. So results are not guaranteed. Past performance does not indicate future outcomes. So please take note of that, right? So the topic tonight is smart welding planning for medical professionals and business owners. How doctors can leverage the immediate financing arrangement strategies to multiply wealth efficiently. As I said, this is not for everybody. This is a complex, this is a very highly complex insurance solution. So this is not a product that is you can just go out there and be telling people that, hey, you need to set up an immediate financing arrangement. No. And that is why you have to qualify for this before you actually implement that. Right. Let's talk about what are the pain points, what are the challenges that doctors, business owners face. All right. Number one, high tax burden, right? Up to 53% in some provinces on high income. If you are a business owner or medical professionals, you can be subjected up to 53% in taxes depending on your province. Okay. Growth limits, right? The traditional savings of registered retirement savings plan, tax-free savings account, corporate account have caps. So, for example, if you check my CRA, right, everybody have a limit to which you can put into this strategy. Okay, so if you are looking into this type of account to plan for your retirement, chances is that you may run out of money over time. So because it has a limit that you can put in there, right? Liquidity issue. Assessing funds often trigger taxable event. Now, if you know in this part of the world, whether you are in United States or Canada or even all over the world, if you make income, as long as you are making money, you must pay tax. Right? Now, the question now is, where do you want to pay the tax and what is the percentage? What percentage of tax do you want to pay? Right? I will explain that as we go into this presentation. Right? So take note of that. There's no free money here. If you make money, if you're a business owner, it is it is mandatory for you that at the end of the year, you file your tax. You declare all the income you make and pay the relevant taxes depending on your province, depending on your tax bracket. Okay, depends on what you are making. But what I'm trying to say is that if you make money, you must pay tax, right? Now, let's look at the opportunity. Okay, this is the opportunity for you to build wealth tax efficiently. Number one, build a seven-figure asset that grow tax shelter. So here, you can actually build wealth, right? But you can also build wealth tax shelter, which I'm going to show you as we proceed in this presentation. Assessing liquidity without selling or triggering capital gains. So you can as well, build wealth without selling your asset or even incur what is called capital gains. Like capital gains means that if you have an asset, okay, you have an asset, but there is growth on the asset. For example, real estate, for example. Aside your primary residence, if you have an investment property, once there is growth on that investment, you have to pay tax on the growth. You want to also see how you can create intergenerational wealth through a protected structure. I mentioned it in the beginning, there is difference between asset protection and asset preservation. See, when you protect your asset, is different from when you preserve it. Preservation means that you begin to create generational wealth so that even when you pass, your children can still inherit this asset. That is what we call preservation. A lot of people don't know how to preserve asset. What they know is how to protect the asset. Okay. One of the answer to this is immediate financing arrangement. So what is immediate financing arrangement? What is immediate financing arrangement? It's a life insurance strategist. Okay. So the first thing is that you purchase a life insurance policy, usually a permanent life insurance. Okay. If you're a business owner, if you're a medical professional, you purchase a high value permanent life insurance. Okay. Now, the second step is you borrow, the bank provide a loan using the cash value as collateral. Now, there are two ways in which you can do this, right? It's either you borrow against the cash value or you borrow against the premium, depending on the way it is structured. But the immediate financing arrangement strategy is you borrow against your premium. All right. So let's say, for example, you put up X amount of money into a life insurance policy. Okay. The strategy is just that once you put the money in, depending on the carrier, depending on the way it is structured, all right, you can have access to the premium again. And I will show you an example of a medical professional that designed such strategies. Third one, tax deduction. The doctor deduct loan interest if business related. Now, when you structure this, if it is properly structured, the interest on those those immediate financing arrangement is also deductible to the corporation. Now, let's say, for example, the interest is about $10,000 annually, $5,000 annually, right? It can also be written off to the profit and loss at the end of the year, which ultimately will also reduce your taxes. So, I really want you to get this very well, because why? A lot of people don't really understand what this strategy is all about. Okay. It's just a very powerful way for saving a lot of money from taxes. Example of what I'm just explaining right now. Now, if it is properly structured, right, the interest you pay on those borrowing, let's say, for example, you borrow $100,000 from your life insurance policy, which is immediate financing arrangement. Okay, let's say on monthly basis you are paying 4.5%, 4%, 3%, depending on the carrier, depending on the way it is structured, right? Those interests at the end of the year will also be written off to your profit and loss, which will reduce your taxes. Again, number 4, tax-free legacy. Insurance growth tax deferred, and the death benefits repay the loans, leaving the estate tax-free. Anytime the insured pass, right, whatever you've taken, whatever you've borrowed, whether it is cash value, whether it's the immediate financing, whether it's the premium, right, whatever it is remaining will still be paid out as a tax-free death benefit. Now, how the immediate financing arrangement works. This is how it works. Now, it is actually have to build on a corporation, right? And there are two ways to do that. It's either you do it on the corporation or you do it outside the corporation. But, I would recommend that you do outside the corporation. This is the advantage. The reason is because, right, whatever you do outside the corporation, which is the holding company, number one, it is creditor proof. And of course, it's also safe from litigations. That is why you want to do it outside the corporation. So think about it. And usually the best way to do that is to fund the life insurance policy through your retained earnings. Retained earning means that whatever you make in your corporation, right, your income minus expense, okay, less profit after tax, whatever that is remaining, okay, is what is we are going to use to fund the immediate financing arrangement. If you are getting value, please type in the comment section value. Okay. Now, the second one is that bank lend you up to 90% of the cash value. I've said it earlier. There are two ways to do that. It's either you actually borrow against the cash value or you borrow against the premium. If it is cash value, you can, of course, borrow up to 90% of the cash value, depending on the product provider, depending on the carrier, right? Use the funds for investment or business expansion. Care must be taken here, right? You must use the funds for businesses for the purpose for which it has been set up. So a lot of people, like I've seen somebody like say, oh, can I set this up and take the money and use to go and fund investment in Nigeria? It doesn't work that way, guys. It doesn't work that way. You can't do that, right? It has to be for the purpose of that corporation. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be subject to. So, like I said, I've made a disclaimer from the beginning of this presentation that consult your accountant, consult your licensed insurance professional and financial planner to show you how to structure this strategies well, because if it's not properly structured, okay, it might result into a lot of issues. And I'm going to show you the risk and the considerations as we proceed, right? Deduct interest. So if structured properly, right? If structured properly, okay. Now you can deduct that interest. Like I said earlier, you can actually deduct the interest. You can write it off to your profit and loss at the end of the year. Okay, which is like, because the interest you paid is the interest you paid on loan is an expense to the corporation. So you can write it off. So the last one is legacy transfer. Policy pay off the loans, balance goes to tax estate tax free. There's what we call CDA, capital dividend account. The capital dividend account is a notional account that is designed for a strategy like this. So when life happens, the money go through the CDA, and from the CDA, it flows to the beneficiary. And usually the smart doctors and business owners, they actually design a trust for this type of an arrangement. So it's not something that you just kind of like, everybody can set up. Please take note of this. All right. Now, these are the key benefits for medical professionals and business owners. Number one, tax efficient growth on corporate retained earnings. Like I mentioned earlier, right? The best way to fund this type of arrangement is to use your retained earnings. So if a corporation is not making consistent income, if corporation is not profitable, there is no point setting up this type of arrangement. I mean, it's a lot of money, right? $100,000 per annum. If that corporation is not making like 6 figures consecutively every year, there's no way you can set this kind of arrangement, because you don't want to start something and maybe year 2, year 3, the doctor said, oh, a business owner say, hey, I don't have enough money again. The corporation must be very, very profitable. Okay. Assess liquidity. Why keeping funds compounding? Like, no, imagine, right? You put money into the life insurance, you put in money into immediate financing arrangement, right? You put $100,000 in, you have access to your $100,000. The prime might be from year 2, might be from year 3. It all depends on the way you set it up, right? So, but the money still keep compounding, because why? They didn't pull out your money, right? You have access to money through either your premium or cash value. So it's just like you are eating your cake. You eat your cake and you still have it. That's exactly what we're acting here, right? Interest deductibility. When structured through a professional corporation, interest can be deductible to the corporation. I've mentioned this earlier. I'll just keep repeating myself. You have to be, care must be taken the way it's set up, right? If you really want to learn more, you can book a call with me. If you're a medical professional, book a call with me. Let's see if you are qualified, because not everybody that is qualified for this type of arrangement. Estate preservation. Proceed, bypass probate and capital gains. So, this is the thing that a lot of people don't really know. Like the news that is trending right now, where RRSP is taxable, and it's actually resulting to about $660 something thousand. This cannot happen in an arrangement like this, because why? The gains, the growth on the policy still grow tax shelter and tax deferred. So you don't need to worry about capital gains in this type of an arrangement. And the reason why you are doing all of this is because you want to make sure that you are building wealth in a tax-free environment. This is why you are doing this, right? And legacy creation, where transfer seamlessly to the next generation. One thing that it's very common for wealthy people that I know is that once they pass, that's the end of that wealth, right? Because why? There is no strategies, there is no arrangement in place for them to continue to make sure that that wealth transit to the generations, I want you to know that. So there's a man called Rockefeller. Rockefeller is one of the world billionaires, and what makes him exceptional is the way he actually preserve his wealth, right? He built a family bank for himself through this type of arrangement. Okay, every Rockefeller family, once you are born into that, you will have a permanent life insurance, and that life insurance, the beneficiary is going to be the trust. I mean, I just look at it that, so all of us can be wealthy, right, if you have the information. But another thing is that, are we disciplined enough to do this type of to this type of a thing? Imagine you have a life insurance, And of course, you can do it as well. Let me give you this is the way to do it. It doesn't need to be immediate financing arrangement. This is how to do it. If you want to build, if you want to if you want to create a generational wealth, right? Set up a life insurance. Instead of you to be make individuals to be the beneficiary of that life insurance, make a trust to be the beneficiary. What you are trying to do is that you are writing a constitution the way you want that money to be spent, right? Maybe 20% for the education, 30% for the family, 20% for charity, and all of it. All depends on the way you want it, and nobody can change that arrangement. It's one of the very perfect way to build wealth, and that's what Rockefeller, until tomorrow, they're still one of the world billionaires through this type of arrangement. So I want everybody to understand that in this part of the world, information is very key. Financial education is very important. Okay, some of this they cannot teach you in the university. It doesn't really matter whether you're a professor of finance or professor of accounting or whatever, right? These are things that they won't teach you in the university. But if you are inquisitive, you are ready to learn, because financial education, right, is very, very key. I've seen people make 6-figure, yet they are broke. Why? There is no financial intelligence, right? So you need to understand is that where to be rich, to build wealth, it's your responsibility. You need to research, to go to people that really understand how to build wealth to help you to structure that. Let's look at the case study of Dr. Smith. Okay, let's say, for example, Dr. Smith is 45 years old, have a permanent life insurance about $1.7 million, and annual premium is $100,000 per annum. Okay, so the bank loan is $90,000 annually, collateralized by cash value. As I said earlier, there are two ways to do this. You can actually borrow against your cash value from year one, or you borrowed against your premium. But for immediate financing arrangement, proper structured immediate financing arrangement, borrowed against the premium. The premium come in lump sums, right? The medical professionals, business owners have access to that money again. So let's say, for example, you pay for 10 years, right? So you dump in $1 million, right, into the policy. You must, by the end of year 10, 11, 12, right, you must have taken out $1 million. Can you imagine that kind of arrangement? So again, whatever you take out from the policy, don't forget that it's not the money, it's not your money that you're taking out. The lender will give you the money while they actually collateralize the money with the policy. Imagine, so whatever the cash value will still continue to grow tax defer because of the effect of compounding interest. If you are getting value, please put in the comment section value, right? Put value in the comment section if you are getting value, right? So, and at the end of the day, the interest you pay on those money still, like, it's still an expense to the corporation. And this is the effect of that. Let's say at the end of the year, you're supposed to pay maybe $20,000, and the interest on loan on the immediate financing arrangement is $10,000. That is written off to the profit and loss. So it actually reduces your taxes that you're going to pay at the end of the year. So I mean, it's just a fantastic arrangement. Now, after 20 years, let's say, for example, after 20 years, the cash value life insurance go to about $2.3 million. The death benefit about $4.8 million, right? So whatever that is actually, you borrowed against the premium, if it is cash value, whatever you've taken out, the remaining balance go to the estate, to the beneficiary, tax-free. Don't forget that this money actually go to the capital dividend account. From the capital dividend account, it's going to go to the beneficiary tax-free, right? Again, they will have built a trust so that there won't be any, problem when you are taking out the money. So these are the risk and consideration, right? Number one, you must be fully qualified to get you must have a need for life insurance policy, right? So don't forget that your health, your age, and all of that is also a factor in this case. You have to consult your financial or strong insurance advisors to know whether you're actually qualified for this or not. Bank approval, require bank approvals and collateral assignment. So, we have lenders, we have teams of, lenders that we work with. So we're going to make everything seamless possible for you to make sure that, you don't need to worry about that. All we need, just give us all the documentation. We'll send it to the lender. If you are qualified, they will let you know, right? Again, interest rate fluctuate, affect loan volatility. So I'm not the Central Bank of Canada. Sometimes, they increase the interest rate, they also lower the interest rate, depend. But we must have put, proper strategies in place to make sure that we guide against all of that. Professional structuring, need professional tax and legal structuring. So before we implement these strategies, your accountant must be, and the meaning your lawyer must also be involved. Because why? There are so many things that is we have to take into consideration. Ongoing monitoring, annual monitoring with advisors, accountant, and bank is essential. So every year we're going to review your bank statement. You are going to review your operations. Because why? We want to make sure that you are not over trading. There's what we call over trading, right? So we make sure that you make sure that we maintain the standard, make sure that the corporation does not have a going concern problem. If your corporation going concern is being threatening, right, is a very big challenge to you to implement immediate financing arrangement. So we have to look at your asset, your liability, and look at, so are you really having reasonable asset to continue to maintain that corporation? A lot of people, they can do business. Not everyone that can do business can really maintain business. Some people have the skills, but they don't really know how to really run business. And that's why you see them after 1-2 years, the balance sheets really look messy. They've taken a lot of debt, and they are struggling. So we want to make sure that we guide you in order for us to consult. The summaries and call to action. Now, retain more earning. The immediate financing arrangement strategies help doctor retain more of what they earn. So right, instead of you to uh um uh spend a lot on taxes, we help you to retain what you've earned. So you can also build a wealth, right? So you create tax efficient wealth, for your family. Because why? Imagine you start with $1 million. In years to come, the policy has grown to a lot of millions of dollars. Nothing can do that for you in this part of the world, and like life insurance. And that's what I want you to know. Multinational wealth, create financial legacy. So here, right, it's going to be financial legacy transferred to the family, right? So because why? You make sure that at least your family have something even when life happen. And again, expert implementation require professional guidance and compliance oversight, right? So next step is to schedule a private clarity call to explore immediate financing arrangement to fit your financial, if it actually fit your financial, because it's not everybody that actually qualify for this, right? Don't just work for money, make money work for generations. So I want to thank everyone that has been listening to this presentation. If you have any question here, I want you to kindly put in the comment section. If you have any question, please put in the comment section. Any question, right? Any question? Wow. So well, I will just want to say this, right? For I've seen amazing people that join this presentation. So we're gonna continue this conversation, right? Next week, I'm gonna be talking about another important topic that that's about business owners and medical professionals, right? I've seen a lot of them, right? They make so much money, but guess what? They have nothing, they have little or nothing to show for it. So if you are making so much money, it doesn't translate to wealth. If you don't really know how to really manage your wealth, how to really implement strategies that will actually help you, to build wealth. So on behalf of wealth building teams, I want to say thank you so much for those that joined today. Next week, Friday, we're going to have another session for insurance agent. Like if you are in sales and you're struggling, right? Because if you lack clarity, if you want to scale your business and you need guidance, so you join us on Friday, 8 p.m. EST. On Saturday like this, we're also going to be talking about medical professionals and business owners on how we can help them to build wealth. On behalf of Wealth Building Conference team, again, want to say thank you so much and do have a nice weekend. Oh, so okay, Dotun, does the money borrowed against the premium have to be spent on the business. Absolutely, Dotun. So if you borrow money from immediate financing arrangement, I mean, you set that strategies up for a certain reason, right? If you set for a medical corporation, for example, clinic expansion, maybe you want to buy a car, or it has to actually relate to that businesses that I actually set it up for, right? So you don't want to set up, you cannot set up these strategies and pull the money out and be using it for something else, right? You can use it for real estate expansion. You can use it for clinic expansion. You can use to buy stocks, bonds, and all of that, as long as it's on that corporation, right? So, because you are building this on the holding company. So your holding company is a wealth building machine, right? It's a way, it's just another way to build wealth outside your corporation. So if you, whatever you want to use the money from, as long as it's still within that corporation, yes, you can use it. But you cannot actually take out this money and use it for something totally different from the corporation. Of course, you can also use for retirement planning as well. The medical professional can actually use it for retirement planning. I hope that answers your question, Dotun. So that is yeah, it actually has to spend on the business, and yeah. So any other question? Dotun, if that answers your question, I want you to type yes on the comment section before we close this one. All right, now thank you so much, Dotun, for that. So I like as I said, right, I really want us to be very intentional about helping professionals. So we have license to open people's eye. A lot of people are struggling in this part of the world, right? You might not really understand the value of what you are doing until you see many people that, because of the information you give me, have been able to build wealth, right? And I'm telling you that many of them are struggling. One thing I also want you to know is that in this business, right, you don't need to be an accountant, all right? You don't need to be an accountant, but you need to know a little bit of accounting, like, at least being able to interpret financial report. Like, for example, if you meet them, if you want to set up, even if it's a corporate life insurance, request for their financial report, give them, let them say, look, can I see a summary of your financial report? Like, know their asset, know their liability, not the financial analysis. Let's know, like, can I have a glance of what your financial report look like? Like, so from there you can quickly deduce if this person is actually good for immediate financing arrangement, because you're going to see the asset, you're going to see the liability. All right. You also want to know what is the ratio of the asset to the liability. Like, for example, if somebody is actually making $500,000 and you have a debt of 1.5 million, so you just go to the liability side and you see bank loan $1 million, other loan, this finance, and you calculate all the liability, and it's maybe times 2 times 3 of the asset. That is not a good candidate for immediate financing arrangement. And of course, you quickly glance through, you go and look at the retained earning at the end of the year, and you see that this person is actually having a lot of money sitting in the bank. And you ask question, what is this money sitting in the bank for? What are you doing with this cash? Like, we can actually try, use this money, we can actually help you to build something, right? Because if you put this money, for example, in a savings or checking account, even all these ETS and all of that, the interest rate is kind of, plus what is going on right now because of the market volatility, because of the trade war between Canada and US. All this is really, like, it's a very big problem for them. So once you do that, you have a lot of money. Return earnings means that, you have a lot of profit and sitting in the bank. So you have this whole amount of money in the bank. You have $500,000 in the bank. You have 300. A lot of them have that bank, and the reason why they don't want to touch it is because they're afraid of capital gains. Like, if I take out this money and I use for investment purposes, if there's any gains on that, once I pass this SBD, which is a small business deduction, I'm going to start paying that. So they are kind of afraid. So you, as an advisor, you need to sit them down and educate them on how they can actually invest this money, how they can utilize it in such a way that they are not going to pay crazy tax, and it's also, you can actually help them to build wealth. So we just have to help these people. They are struggling financially. Again, right? One thing that also make this strategy to be exceptionally different is that if it is actually built up on a whole life policy, it's not going to be subject to market volatility. So if you have a medical professional, they have UL, they have this, they have that, they have bonds, they have real estate and all of that, right? and they don't have something like in a stable environment, right? You have to let them know. Say, you see, we have to diversify it. We need to diversify. Like, you need to have something. You have to buy a little bit of stocks, bonds, shares, real estate, and of course have something in a permanent life insurance, which is whole life. So the market, this is not it's not exposed to the market volatility. So you don't need to worry about whether the market is up, whether the market is down. At least you have your money in an environment that is tax free, and it's not going to be, the market is not going to affect them. Look at what is happening in the real estate today. Right? Nobody ever believed that real estate market will crash this much. Imagine if you have a medical professional that is planning his retirement and he has a lot of money in real estate, and the market suddenly crash. What do you think will happen to that kind of medical professional? So I want us to be, please, let's actually help these people. Right? They need us. Right? And don't, please reach out to them. Reach out to them and let them know. So let's have a quick chat, and let me see how we can actually help you to build wealth and also pass it on. So once again, I want to thank everyone for joining this amazing webinar tonight. Tomorrow and next week is another time. See you same time. I remain your regular host, Oludare Fasola. See you next week. Bye for now.